What's up, Planeswalkers? It's your boy K-Dog, back in Standard here. Actually going to be doing kind of a 2-for-1 in this video. So Rogue Tribal. Seems like that's something that's kind of been done by their content creators, but I feel like there's still some unexplored territory. I don't know, I haven't been fully satisfied by the some of the lists that I've seen, so I feel like there's still some room to kind of build around and play around, and to really kind of make a more focused approach. I did do my Grixis Thieves list, which I thought kind of, for me anyway, kind of encapsulated what Rogue Tribal, what at least I wanted it to be. You know, the Robber of the Rich, Thief of Sanity, and things like that. And that was a lot of fun. I definitely enjoyed that deck list. But here we're more focused on the actual kind of Rogue side. And so there's no Thief of Sanity because that's a Spectre. That one had Subira, which of course she's like a human something. And yeah, so we're just kind of focused more on the actual rogue creatures and just try to take advantage of them. And so rather than making two separate videos, I'm just gonna do kind of a 2-for-1. So we're gonna take this one in the first half, and then we'll jump into the second one right after this. And yeah, you can see the timestamps in the description below if you want to skip ahead to the other version. And of course, I'll have the deck lists and links in the description as usual. Alright, so this one we're doing a Dimir, kind of a flash build. Like, a lot of the rogues have flash. If you look at, of course, the Thieves Guild Enforcer, which is kind of the card that really inspired a lot of people's hope for kind of a rogue tribal type of theme. Thieves Guild Enforcer, of course, is a 1-mana 1/1 with flash, which is nothing special. However, when enters or another rogue enters the battlefield under control, each opponent mills 2 cards. So, you know, 2 cards is okay, can certainly be add up, but it's definitely hard to get the mill win with something just 2 cards at a time here and there, and playing creatures at the same time. Like, it's very kind of awkward to get like a mill win. But you know, when you're trying to play like a tempo-y game, sometimes it can be relevant. So we're trying to kind of play around with the idea just a little bit. Not so much in this one, and the other one is actually going to be more focused on kind of the mill aggro kind of aspect, and this one just more focused on the flash aspect. So we're just trying to mill just to get the Thieves Guild Enforcer, the +2/+1 and Death Touch ability. So 1-mana 3/2 Death Touch is pretty solid. Of course, it doesn't happen on the early game, doesn't happen until a little bit later on. But you know, when I think of when you look at all the flash rogues we have with flash, they're all like fairies. They have like flying, so they're already evasive bodies. You have the Faerie Duelist here, which is a 1/2. You have the Faerie Vandal, which is a 1/2. Faerie Duelist comes down, and target creature opponent controls gets -2/-0 until end of turn, so you can kind of prevent some damage that way. You also have the Faerie Vandal, which gives a +1/+1 counter when you draw your second card each turn. And so we're kind of trying to leverage some of the flash abilities that we have in Standard right now. We have like the Cunning Nightbonder, which is also a rogue, which is pretty cool. So we're playing 3 of those, just a 2/2 for 2. It's nice having the hybrid mana cost here, so it's very flexible. And then the spells with flash are 1 less to cast, and can't be countered, which is definitely nice in kind of mirror type matchups and situations like that. And also we're playing a couple copies of Slitherwisp, just because we are focusing on that flash tribal aspect of rogues. Of course, this is Elemental Nightmare, so it doesn't count, but we're just playing 2 copies. Also, because it has double black and a single blue, the mana cost is a little bit tricky because most of our creatures are very blue focused. Obviously, the Brazen Borrower, you know, the Petty Theft side is 1 blue, and then the Brazen Borrower itself is a double blue. But yeah, when I think of the, like, so that puts us very much in like the fairy side of things. And so when I think of this, I think of like, you know, all these fairies are kind of zipping around and they're kind of like distracting you. And then they kind of get what they want, and then before you know it, they're gone. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're just kind of tempo, kind of throw off our opponent quite a bit. So we've got the Petty Theft side of Brazen Borrower, of course. But we do have 3 Eliminates as kind of our hard removal here. Other than that, we're just playing Unsummon as a 4 of. And the nice thing about this, over like a Stern Dismissal, is since we are very creature heavy, it protects our own creatures from removal, which is nice. So you can protect your best creature from a sweeper. You can maybe bounce your Brazen Borrower back just to Petty Theft something, and then re-trigger the Brazen Borrower side for the Thieves Guild Enforcer, something like that maybe. So there's little tricksy things you can do, and that's kind of what we're going to do. Is be a very kind of a tricky deck that kind of does all kinds of things to kind of frustrate your opponent, and just kind of chip away with these evasive creatures, and kind of kill your opponent before they can really get their game going. We also have a Gust of Wind as another kind of a tempo play here. It's a 4-mana sorcery. However, it costs 2 less to cast if you control a creature with flying. So obviously all of our fairies, of course, have flying, which is the majority of our creature base. It's like 80% or something like that. So most of the time this is going to be a 2-mana basically blink of an eye, if you remember that card. It is a sorcery speed, but since we have the Faerie Vandal here, we're not really drawing 2 cards on our opponent's turn, so we're fine with playing Gust of Wind on our turn, bouncing something for 2 mana, drawing a card, and then putting a counter on the Faerie Vandal if we have that out at the same time. But otherwise, just 2 copies, because we do have the Brazen Borrower, we have the Unsummon, so we don't need a whole lot of copies, and we're not always going to be able to cast this for 4. We also have the Teferi, Master of Time, just because it's a new card, kind of want to play around with it with the card draw ability as well. Of course, working with the Faerie Vandal and things like that. And then -3. It's kind of another way to kind of frustrate your opponent and be able to play this on both turns, so it's very flavorful, but it definitely could be correct to just cut the Teferis all together, which would of course lower your curve. And then if you did that, you can maybe do 4 eliminates, 4 Nightbonders. That could be better overall. But I think just jamming Teferis, it's a new card, it's fun to play with, but if you don't have it in your collection, yeah, just run Eliminate and Nightbonder. They're both uncommon, so you should be pretty budget friendly as far as, wild cards go. And the other kind of a card that doesn't really see a whole lot of play is Of One Mind. So it's 3 mana, sorcery, draw 2 cards, which is kind of bad. However, at 2 less to cast, you can control a human and a non-human creature. This is a card that doesn't really see pretty much any play, but we do have, obviously, the Nightbonder is a human, and the Thieves Guild Enforcer are humans, and then, of course, we have all of our Faerie Rogues. So we should be, most of the time, we should be able to get this for 1 mana to draw 2 cards, which is pretty great, and, of course, works with our Faerie Vandal pretty nicely. Other than that, we have the Faerie Miscreant, which is a 1 mana Faerie Rogue, 1/1 flyer, which is decent, 1 mana, 1/1 flyer, nice evades body sorting on turn 1. And if you have another Faerie Miscreant out when you cast this, you get to draw a card. So again, it works with the Faerie Vandal quite nicely. Let's see, I don't think I missed anything here. So mana base here, 22 lands, so we got 8 islands, since we are very heavily skewed towards blue. 6 swamps, 4 Watery Grave, and instead of the Temple of Deceit, which is always tapped, we're going to run Fabled Passage, which also gives us the fixing, because sometimes you need very heavily on the blue side of things. Like I said, obviously we have the Brazen Borrower, which is double blue. Then you have the double black with Slitherwisp, so if that's something you have in your hand, you definitely want to crack the Fabled Passage for another second black source to make sure you can cast this. And yeah, so taking advantage of the flash ability here to draw cards and drain your opponent as well kind of fits in with what we're trying to do as well. So there's no sideboard here as it is, but I will work on that and have that ready for you guys in the description. But for now, we'll jump into a couple best of 1 matches and just to get a quick feel for how this deck actually runs. All right, up against Cybic. Double Island. And we have 3 castables. So I guess we try it. I mean, we lead on the Nightbonder, and then we can cast both of these, even if we don't draw another land. Unless, of course, our opponent kills it. So it's not going to be doing much milling with 130 cards. Got the nice Narset sleeve, which is pretty sweet. But, yeah, our opponent getting punished for running so many cards, having a double mulligan, it looks like. For once, the shuffler not smoothing out their draws. Just lead on island. Beautiful, beautiful John Avon lands. Oh, our opponent's got the same thing. Alright, we'll just flash in the Nightbonder. So now we got the Watery Grave, so we have removal if we need it. But yeah, we're just going to flash in the Nightbonder. Okay, they go for the shock on face. Perfect. Yeah, let's shock in here. Play you at sorcery speed since it's not a flash spell. Hit for 2, and then we'll just hold up these plus eliminate. So we got some nice options here. Okay, opponent on Jessica. Farfinder. Okay, I can kill that. But I think I just want to get these duelists down, and then we can start swinging in. Okay, our opponent's deck is all over the place. Look at all those basics. You're running a deck like this, 100-something cards and all basic lands. I mean, you need cards like this to get the fixing. I don't really care about this 1/1. It's not doing anything, so let's just Teferi. And we'll plus. Oh, and our opponent's seen enough. Against Nen Inoi. It's an interesting hand. I mean, we have a double Thieves Guild. it's probably just worth keeping. It's a little bit of a downside with the passage, but it still does give us fixing, which I think is totally worth it. And of course, we're running, I think because we're running mill, it's matched up against these 100 card decks. Wasn't paying attention there. If you're running the Thieves Guild, just definitely pay attention to when your opponent does scry. Wait, they didn't have any scry effects, but this was just a gain life land. But if it was a scry land, then you definitely want to make sure you're watching out for that. We'll go and shock in here, so we have some options. Swing for 1, and pass turn. Alright, so just get number 2 down. Okay, opponent doesn't like what they see. Okay, it begins Bone Break. Alright. I mean, Slitherwisp is a nice card draw engine. It's a little awkward having 2 of them, but we do have the passage, which can give us our fixing. And so yeah, everything here is castable, so we'll keep it. So we'll crack the Fabled Passage for a black source on our opponent's end step. And we found another Fabled Passage, so make sure we have double blue. So yeah, it's perfect. Incubation Druid. We're going to do Swamp. I mean, you could also Petty Theft this Incubation Druid to keep them off whatever they're trying to ramp into. But I think we'll just hold up here and see what they do. Kind of want to get some creatures on board here, especially with the Vandal and Slitherwisp, but they're going to work quite nicely together. We can always just bounce whatever they play here with Incubation Druid if they do kind of ramp into something nasty. And yeah, we're still getting a matchup against these 100 card decks. Because, you know, the Shuffler is just fine, everybody. Do we care if they put a counter on that? We could bounce it next turn. I mean, we could just race them as well. What? Sure. Flash this in. Block the 1/1, kill it. And so they tried to be cute and just get a 1/1 on board. So now they lose their Bassery, and we'll just flash in a Slitherwisp and go from there. It's tempting to go Slitherwisp into Slitherwisp, but we'll kind of see what our opponent does here. We'd have double Petty Theft now. New Horizons. Okay, so I'm not sure what Bazir Cat has to do with the ramping. So I still don't understand what our opponent is up to here. We'll definitely flash this in. And I think we'll take advantage of Slitherwisp Faerie Vandal interaction to draw some cards and put some counters on our Vandal. So I think we'll Vandal and then Petty Theft this Incubation Druid, because this have a counter on it, which means it can tap for 3 mana. So we'll flash you in, we'll draw, we'll trigger a counter on the first Faerie Vandal that's about to attack. And this is actually an instant, so it's not going to trigger, but we are set up to get the triggers next turn. But definitely want to bounce this back to the hand before they can untap with it and do some shenanigans. And then we get to hit for 5. And we're set up nicely for next turn. And so yeah, this is what you know, Flash Rogue Tribal is all about, just kind of tempoing out your opponent like crazy. Could just be a bad version of Dimir Flash, but it's fun when it works. And we've been having success with it so far, which of course means we're gonna either get shattered here or we're just gonna get crushed in our next game. Mace of the Valiant. Okay, so I guess they're just kind of doing kind of a janky counter synergy here. We'll just grab another blue source. They have 2 white mana open. They're looking at one of our Faerie Vandals. I'm not sure what that's about. There are some spells that white has access to, like Divine Arrow and things like that, could potentially kill our creatures here at instant speed. I feel like they're holding something up maybe, but we're going to try to push maximum damage across here. Let's swing, see what they do in response. Nothing. Okay, we'll flash in again. Get some more card draw. Grow these Vandals. And I don't really see us losing from this point. Obviously, board wipe is pretty devastating, but we still have double Brazen Borrower and our opponent's down to 3. So, yeah. Okay, Afonso Sousa, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's pretty solid. A 1 and 2 into 3 with some card draw. That's when we actually can draw into some additional flash creatures. Looks pretty good. Okay, double Nightbonder. Okay, our opponent on flash themselves. We'll offer the trade. This can grow a lot bigger than ours, so I'm not sure why they would want to make this trade. They're actually reading the cards, trying to decide if it's worth it. Now with a double Nightbonder, do we actually try to block their Brindborn here? It might be worth it. Okay, no Scrylands, there's life gain lands. Fire Mines, Research. Perfect. So they're tapped out. They can't counter it if they want to swing in. I think we'll make this trade here before this Brindborn gets any bigger. Could also just try to race, but I think I'm fine with trading and keeping them off the board. These decks typically are just trying to run kind of a mix of creatures and spells. And if they don't have any spells, if they don't have any creatures on board to actually get the benefit of having those spells, and it's not as good. I think Guildmate, just kind of a fun card. Opponent taps out for just a pass priority, maybe. We'll flash you in. How many cards? Yeah, I think we want to get in here. So we'll bounce the creature. Play the Nightbonder just to grow the Thieves Guild. I think that would be 7, right? 2, 5, 7. Oh no, oh, it's 8 cards. I don't know why I was thinking it was 7. Alright, well, we're 1 card off of making our Thieves Guild a 3/2. Wow, they don't even bother with the Guildmate, they just want to draw some cards to put a counter. And they fill up their own graveyard for us. Perfect. They do get a 1/1 down. But with them being tapped out, there's not really much they can do here. No reason to shock. We'll just crack this for a blue source, and we can only cast 2 of these things. Alright. So let's go ahead and attack in. Block 3 from the Thieves Guild. Doesn't really matter. Block 1 of these 3 powered. They decide they want to keep the banner alive a little bit longer. And without a second Miscreant, I think we'll just hold that one up and just use our 2 flash spells here. So they're down to 8, which is pretty good for us, but definitely not out of the woods yet. Need to find some more tempo plays, but having our opponent tap out on their turn is pretty nice because they don't have to play around counters or shocks or anything like that. And they're getting in there. That's pretty bold. They're suiciding maybe. Right. Ping you for 1, mill you some more. Oh, 1,000-Year Storm. I don't think that really works with all these 1 and 2 mana creatures. Sounds fun, but We could have done that just to prevent like a point of damage, but it just does not matter. Alright, yeah, so just kind of tempo your opponent out and force them into a bunch of bad decisions. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good place to end it since we're doing a 2-for-1 here. And so let's go over the deck again. Let's see what we got here. Arcanist. Oh, pretty sure we have a playset, but sure. And crack the orbs later. Whatever we got. Alright, so Rogue Flash. Yeah, that felt pretty good. We saw Teferi there. Of course, our opponent just conceded because they saw maybe a Planeswalker or they were just getting frustrated. Yeah, that's what the deck is trying to do. Just kind of frustrate you and you know, all these fairies flying around and just kind of getting through incremental damage. The Vandal can grow nicely with a lot of the synergy we have going on. I didn't get to see the of one mind. Gust of Wind though showed up, and even though we have 2 Slitherwisps, they were there pretty consistently, and we got tons of value off of that, which is pretty nice to see. And Thieves Guild Enforcer putting in some work, which is nice to see. And yeah, the Unsummons and Petty Thefts, definitely very valuable cards. As far as your sideboard, you just want the usual kind of counter spells and hand disruption type spells. But yeah, I'll come up with a sideboard list, and you'll be able to see that in the description. But for now, we're going to go and jump into deck number 2. Alright, here we are, deck number 2 for Rogue Tribal. This one we're going for a Grixis kind of aggro mill, which is kind of similar to something I've seen another person going for. But kind of want to give it a try myself. So we are pretty spread out, lots of 2-ofs and things like that. But it's kind of fun. So we're definitely trying to be focused on the blue-black side of things, and then just kind of splash in red. As you can see, we have the 3 10th Street Dodgers, 2 Lava Coils, and 4 Robber, and those are the extent of our red spells. And of course, Robber the Rich is just a fantastic card all around. We do have Lava Coil. We're just trying to balance our removal options. So we got 2 Lava Coils, 2 Eliminates, a couple of Disfigures. So we're kind of also trying to go with that kind of a tricky theme as well. We can kind of go into combat, attack. Maybe our opponent thinks they can block and kill something, but we disfigure, and now that our creature does no damage or not enough damage, but we kill their creature. So that's a nice tricky play we can do. And you know, 10th Street Dodger, since we are just splashing red, I don't really want to go all 4, especially since it has the red mana of activated ability as well. It's going to be hard to actually cast this and activate it on the same turn a lot of the times. But it is nice because it is a rogue, and it can get through for unblockable damage. And just being a cheap rogue to kind of go with our Thieves Guild Enforcer. So we're kind of have a light mill theme here. We're running 2 copies of Teferi's Tutelage. So if you do get this early on, your opening hand or something like that, you also kind of plan around maybe intentionally milling your opponent just by casting a bunch of rogues. Because a lot of them are pretty understated. You know, the Robber the Rich is a 2/2. It's nice and if you're able to kind of get in there, but a lot of times your opponent will have you know, creatures that can block it, especially once you get past the turn 2. So just being able to cast a rogue and trigger the Thieves Guild Enforcer to kind of mill your opponent 2 cards is nice. And this, of course, gets better in late game because we can just set up our Thieves Guild Enforcer, just cast a bunch of rogues, and then we have this just down as a 3/2 Death Toucher, and so our opponent just kind of doesn't want to attack into us, and we just keep playing rogues and mill our opponent that way. And so that's kind of part of the strategy here. So we can kind of go either way. It kind of depends on your draws and your matchup, which also means there's going to be some consistency issues, but that's just kind of the nature of what we're trying to do here. But you know, splashing red means you can focus on blue and black, which means like a Brazen Borrower is much easier to cast with a double blue, and also means we can cast Thieves Guild more consistently on turn 1 when we do have an open hand. Since we are running 4, we definitely want to see this early and often. Other than that, we also have a couple of lofty denials, since a lot of our creatures do have flying. The Brazen Borrower, the Faerie Vandal, and the Faerie Miscreants. And of course, all this card draw works nicely with the Tutelage, and vice versa. Same thing here with the Winged Words, card draw, and cost less if we have a creature with flying. And Gust of Wind here is another card that also works with the flyers, and also just draw a card on our turn to trigger the fairies or the tutelage and things like that. And finally we have Rankle, which also lets us draw cards as well, but can also force your opponent to discard cards or sack creatures. Because once we got our fairies out, then we don't necessarily need them. We've already got maybe the cast trigger for the Thieves Guild Enforcer, and you know, we can just sacrifice them from then to kind of force our opponent to sack their stuff as well. So depending on your matchup, depending on your draws, you can go very aggro with this. We have just enough efficient removal that you can kind of do that and hold up a couple lofty denials potentially as well. Or you can just go for the mill plan with the tutelage and some of the card draw we have. And also a lot of these rogues, as you saw on the other Dimir list, if you saw that one, they have flying, so they're kind of evasive threats and kind of getting for damage that way. Even the 10th Street Dodger can make itself essentially unblockable for the most part. And yeah, so 4 Faerie Miscreants is a 1/1 for 1, and of course you draw a card once you already have one of these out. 4 Faerie Vandals, it's a flash flyer. Whenever you draw your second card, you get a +1/+1 counter on it. And what else we got here? And yeah, the 2 Rankles, which is of course a rogue as well. So we're running 23 lands because you are 3 colors. We want to make sure we all hit those right colors consistently as possible. So I think it's you don't want to go too low on your land count when you're running 3 colors. So we got 3 islands, 2 swamps, and 1 castle lockdown. So we have essentially 3 basic blue and basic black sources, and then just 2 mountains since it is kind of our splash color. And of course all the shocklands, and then 3 of Fabled Passage to go with our we got 7 basics. So yeah, and same thing with the other list. I'll come up with a sideboard for you, so you can kind of use that if you want to run this in a best of 3. Otherwise, we'll just jump into some best of 1 matches and just give you a little feel for how this deck operates. Okay, up against pre-reg. Well, this hand is actually pretty amazing. Just going to second black source at some point to get this Rankle down, but in the meantime, we have lots of stuff we can do, and we're on the play here, so we have to get the 10th Street Dodger chipping away. Alright, I put it on red, and they shock it maybe, that's fun. Steam Vents. Alright, we'll get this island down, say go, and we'll just flash in the Faerie Vandal. Especially if they have a haster here, that'll be nice. Okay, they're on Boros. Probably have another shock here, but if they do, so be it. So would like another black source, but it is what it is. We'll get this Watery Grave down. Okay, our opponent on Boros removal. This could be a short matchup then. If they just kill our things, we'll just concede and move on to the next one. Do we Faerie Miscreant and hold up the Petty Theft? I mean, they haven't played anything yet, and they're stuck on 2 lands, maybe? I guess we'll give them a target, see if hope they actually play something. Jeskai, okay. So you're Jeskai control with bad removal with Jaya's Greeting and things like that. Ooh, we Dragonauts. Let me see. Oh, so they give us a target to bounce. We need a second black source. I think we just go for the... we could go for this, but it doesn't really do much in the face of a Dragonaut, so let's go ahead and go for the tutelage plan. They're playing, what, 60-something cards? Niv Mizzet. You're running basic planes, and you're trying to get Niv Mizzet down, and you're running... I mean, it helps you scry into what you need, I guess, but it seems kind of awkward. Hey, if it's fun for you, go for it. Alright, so we drew a disfigure here. Yeah, I think we just Rankle, swing in with Rankle, and go from there. I mean, not that they're... I mean, they're... them being tapped out was kind of our opportunity to maybe get the disfigure going. They have 4 cards in hand. Do we want them to draw? Let's just sacrifice and discard. Actually, we should probably draw 2 since we got the tutelage out. Let's do all 3. So our Faerie Miscreant's not doing much with a 1/3 on board disfigure, especially now that they have this out and they can untap and hold up into speed spells to get the buff. Although it doesn't actually trigger the toughness. Don't get the power boost with that. But yeah, let's go for if they're just gonna kill everything we play, let's try to focus on maybe the tutelage plan. Okay, Electromancer makes everything they play a little bit cheaper. So I probably want to kill that. So I probably have a very greedy deck over here. I think they're running like some 70, 60 something cards. And of course they have Lava Coil. Alright, well there's a Miscreant number 2. If we knew that was coming, obviously it would have been nice to keep that. I do want to get rid of this Electromancer because it is going to, it's like it's going to enable a lot of what they're trying to do. which means we can't play the Brazen Borrower, so we'll just drop the Miscreant and see if they want to kill that. Maybe they don't have removal for the Brazen Borrower. Rouse Outburst. Knowing we have this in hand, you're going to outburst 1/1. I mean, I guess if you just hold up tons of removal, then it just doesn't really matter. Alright, a radical idea. Yeah, we'll play the land, I guess. It's in the case to be made for just holding onto it, maybe make them think we have something, but yeah, opponent's just killing everything we play here. I've just kind of found the perfect mix of creatures and removal. Yeah, we'll swing both here. If they want to trade their Dragonauts, that's fine. If the Rankle hits, then we'll go for card draw and discard. So last game the Dragonauts off board because it can do a lot of damage. So we'll do discard since there are multiple cards, and that happens first, and then we get to draw a card and trigger the tutelage. We get to actually have something in our hand. So we got them down to about half their deck, which is nice. Expansion, Explosion. Wow, just all the Bedevil and Bat. Oh man. Yeah, let's just hold the island. I think at this point we'll just pretend we have a counter or something, although with one land open there's not really much we can represent, but just for maybe future turns. Although the way their deck is constructed, I'm guessing they're not the type of person to play around counter spells and things like that. Because this is a very interesting deck design with Bedevil and 0 black sources. Yep, hit for 2. So it can't start making 1/1 flyers. Is that a cast trigger? It is a cast trigger. We have a counter spell, which can counter some stuff. Let's go the discard. It's another reason to keep the island. Don't want to sacrifice, but I think we'll still keep chipping away at these. Discard the island, as beautiful as it is. Winged Orbs. Okay, it's not terrible. They're down to 24, so there's still hope that we could get there. Huh. I mean, Robber's not really doing much. It does protect us from incremental damage from the Electromancer. But this 1/5 means that it's not really doing a whole lot. Obviously, we want to keep the Lofty Denial open because their deck is kind of all over the place. So if we do get opportunity to counter something, we want to do that. I think we just pass the turn here. Crackling Drake. Yes, we will counter that. And with 3 mana open, they cannot do anything about that. And now they're empty-handed. And wow, they left their guard down. Are we? Yeah, we got there. Sweet. So our opponent got a little aggressive here, and it cost them. So we're gonna go you. That's 5, and we already have lethal right there because of Rankle's ability. But yeah, we'll get in there for lethal. All right. So our opponent definitely made things interesting with all that removal, but man, Rankle is such a clutch card. Really got us there. We were able to milk quite a bit actually. So there was definitely you can kind of see how valuable the tutelage is. And we didn't even hit our Thieves Guild Enforcer, and we milled them down to 17 cards, which is awesome to see. They did have a little bit of card draw to kind of help us with that as well. But yeah, mostly that was us. So nice showing from the deck. All right, Jerry Barzo. It's an interesting hand. We have to keep it, and we have double black for the Rankle. Missing a second blue source for the Brazen Borrower, but we do have the Petty Theft side at least. And a 1 into 2, and potentially a 3-drop, or at least a Petty Theft on 3. So it does hurt a little bit. We'll have to shock, but it's probably worth it. We'll see what our opponent's up to though. Another black source. Yeah, we'll shock and get the 1/1 online. and see what our opponent's up to. Ideally, we Blood Crypt into Robber and Passion Orator. I'm going to say you're not going to block with that, and I'm just going to swing. If they do, then that takes some life gain off the board. So it's these Selesnya life gain lists, which are fairly common. They are actually taking the trade. Wow. I definitely would have expected them to prioritize their Orator to gain them a bunch of life and kind of offset any damage that was coming through, especially if they have a Pridemate or something like that can quickly grow. But apparently... Alright, so we have the Petty Theft, but we can't obviously do anything about the Druid that has Hexproof. So I think we'll just flash in the Enforcer, and then Petty Theft whatever they try to cast off the Druid, or potentially bounce the Druid maybe, depending on what they play. We'll see here. Alright, so we're matched up against another oversized deck here, some 90-something cards. Of course, the Shuffler's saying, screw you, you're trying to mill people, we're going to make you mill 100 card decks. Okay, they float some mana, or I don't know what they're doing here. What do we want to bounce here, actually? Could flash this in, and I don't think we're going for the mill plan, so let's just flash this in and try to kill this Druid. Yeah, we'll just bounce it. It's fine. I didn't even know if we were going to block it. So yeah, let's Rankle, get the Spinner off the board. So not enough. Discard. We have a Blood Crypt. Or something's in blue to actually play the Borrower. So I think I'm fine with discarding and sacking. So we'll discard the land since we have plenty of Blood Crypts already in play. And I think the Miscreant can probably go. So they discard a land, keep their Paradise Druid. And then next turn we 10th Street, make it unblockable. Swing all. If they want to block the Enforcer, that's fine. We're not getting the mill. We're not getting the mill win anyway. And do we even pay? I mean, could potentially draw into something to cast, and we kind of want to get this Druid off the board. So let's see what they do. And if they just take it, then we'll just make them sack it. We're not going to mill you running this many cards. You still have 78 cards in your library, but they... I don't know, people respect this card way too much, it seems like. But sure. Yeah, we don't want it... I'd love to discard their last card, but... I think she actually just want to maybe draw a card and chip away at their life total. Lofty... Ooh. In that case, I think we just hold up Lofty Denial. Try to find a second Pacifism. Yeah, it's a good counterspell. And then we do need to, as much as I want to cast this and find a second blue source, yeah, and that's enough to make our opponent back in. So getting aggro there with the oversized deck was nice. Against Hammerheim 1701. Lurus deck. Well, in that case, having the Lava Coil is pretty nice. Tutelage not as good if they're trying to maybe get stuff back from their graveyard, but I think this is fine. Have double blue for the Brazen Borrower. At least have a black source for the Rankle. So yeah, it is a little bit slow though, to be honest, but that's fine. Odds are they're going to cast something here, we can just Lava Coil it. We'll see which version of Lurus this is. 1/1 Lifelinker. They can pay 5 to make it 4/4. I don't think I care about that too much. I think we'll just play this and hold up the Petty Theft. And next turn we have some options. was that, 62 or something like that cards? 63. Showing Boros, Healer's Hawk. So just Boros life gain with Lurrus. Yeah, we'll bounce that then if you're going to try to be cute with an Aris. Okay, if we tutelage here, what are we discarding? I don't know what we want to discard. I think we just play a Miscreant and say go. We don't need to Lava Coil the Healer's Hawk when we can trade if they want to attack in. Some of them have Lurrus, if they just go for Lurrus, although since it's in their companion zone, they do have to pay 3 just to put it in their hand. So we can kind of keep that in mind. Dawn of Hope is a pretty annoying card. See if they want to trade here. They do. I will take that trade. I think you can get it back with your Lurrus, but it's fine. You're tapped out. Yeah, I think we'll just bounce the Dawn of Hope. Robber. We do need to draw some cards though. Which could be reason to play the tutelage. We'll just go aggro. We'll just get in there for 2. A land. Black source. Okay, so you're on Mardu. And if we keep missing land drops, might just have to tutelage and pitch the Rankle since we can't actually cast it. Shocking, just get a Vampire down. And so that's a reasonable Lava Coil target. You can hit us for 1, gain 1, and another 1. That's pretty annoying. So hopefully they attack here, we can Lava Coil the 1-1 and then swing. There we go. Man. They're pretty easy blocks with the Vampire. But we can't do 2 things here, so I think we just we'll just Rankle and draw a card. I feel like we just need to kind of dig for some more answers here. Discard. Do you want to give up on the tutelage plan? Do we want to? Maybe we're just a little bit too slow against them, so maybe we'll do the discard and also draw a card as well. I don't think we want to sack. So give up on the tutelage plan. We're just kind of dead in our hands. Okay, next turn we have Lava Coil and Hold Up Lofty Dino, which is pretty good. Dawn Hopo, they can keep making tokens, which is pretty annoying. Epic Downfall. Wow, that's a card that doesn't see a whole lot of play. Looks like our opponent just kind of had the right answers at the right time. So they're tapped out, so they can't actually do any Dawn Hope tokens or card draw, which is nice. So obviously you want to play around. Let's get that Death Toucher off the board. And I'm fine with attacking in. So we got the... Oh wait, without a flyer though, we can't counter their Lurrus. They're going for the double block. Okay. So, So Lofty Down without a flyer means they just have to pay 1 mana for it. Lurrus only costs 3 and they still have 2 mana open. Forever Young. Okay. So now we can counter the Lurrus. Hopefully they just do Lurrus. I'm not sure why you would do that when you have a Lurrus incoming. Hopefully they just Lurrus. If not, then we'll just flash in the 3-1. We'll see what they do here. They do go for Lurrus. Okay. They're tapped out, so they can't pay for it. Miscreant. Alright. Play you and just go from there. Okay, your Vampire. And now the later this game goes, it favors them with the Dawn of Hope. little choked on blue mana, which is pretty annoying. Let's attack, see if they want to trade. If they do trade, maybe we'll bounce the vampire. And just keep the board nice and clear. Hopefully we can draw a second blue source and actually get these 3/1s online. It's super annoying that they can do that. Another black source. That's some card draw, especially with empty-handed. But it's not quite what we're looking for. They're getting a ton of value. This Dawn of Hope is definitely problematic. Let's keep playing these life thinkers, and we don't have any board wipes. We have an eliminate, which is not bad. I guess if they want to pay for the one of these, then we just eliminate it. Obviously, rather kill the vampire, but let's make them waste their mana. Swing in for 2, gain 2. They don't get to draw a card though, which is nice. But the longer this game goes, it's still going to favor them. We need to really find a way to close this game out quickly. If we can dodge removal, maybe these Brazen Borrowers can carry us. But we do have 2 playable spells here. With everything in the graveyard, I think we actually just flash in the Enforcer and trade on the 4/4. Do gain 4 life, which is annoying, but soak up 4 damage at least. So they're back up to 20. Again, they can't draw. And another. This deck is super resilient. We do have the flyers, but man, with all this life gain. Yeah, let's swing in. Then gain a bunch of life back next turn. But we just have to go for it. So as greedy as our opponent's deck is, you know, it's still working for them. I hit for 5, gain 5, back to 17. Yeah, I don't think we can really keep up with this. Not without some more removal. You get to start drawing now. We've already cast an eliminate. Let's see, if we draw, we go down to 6, and we're looking at 5 damage. So I guess we're not dead by drawing. So let's go ahead and do that. So land and a Lofty Denial. So keep going for it. So we do have flyers to make the Lofty Denial better, but they're quite a bit of lands. So they put us down to 1, they go up to 14, and yeah, we're still a long ways from lethal. Draw a card in Suicide. Thieves Guild. Yeah, still not enough. I mean, technically we're not dead. So we'll swing in the air. And we have Thieves Guild, which can block. Robber can block. And I'll just hold up Lofty Denial. Hopefully that's good enough. Opponent has a ton of cards in hand though. Okay, Scythe. And Cavalcade. Why did we not counter that? Why did we not counter the Cavalcade? I'm so dumb. If we counter the Cavalcade, let's see, 5. We wouldn't be able to pay for it, but don't be able to activate. I guess we're just dead, no matter what there. But yeah, the Cavalcade just kills us off the vampire. Yeah, weird deck. These cards don't really seem to go together, but everything kind of worked out perfectly. Here for our opponent, Fear of the Bitten is a weird deal. Yeah, we'll just let them get the win. And hey, sometimes the shuffle just kind of gives you everything you need. So, yeah, weird weird deck. I'm not sure what to make of our opponent's list. Obviously very resilient, things like Luris, but we were able to counter it, and so they didn't really get the Luris value. But man, they still that Forever Young got all those life linkers back, and all that life gain just really weren't able to really tempo our opponent enough. But yeah, if we had drew in some more interaction, that would have been nice to actually kill those things. But yeah, that's too much resiliency from our opponent. But that's where sideboarding can kind of come in. All right, what do we get here? Maze Mind Tome. That's a pretty cool card. All right, jump to the deck one more time. What do we got here? So we didn't get the mill win, but we did do quite a bit of work in one of those games with a Teferi's Tutelage and kind of trying to mill out our opponent. Just kind of struggled against that one matchup where the opponent just had tons of resiliency, and we just weren't able to really pressure our opponent's life total enough. And of course, the Death Touch Vampire is pretty tricky, and then they just kind of stalled the game out and just activated the that 1/1, which is kind of not a very good card, but they got tons of value off of it. And the Dawn Hope is pretty annoying card as the game goes on. They got some nice value off of that as well. And we're a little light on removal. We're just kind of trying to tempo our opponent. Lost in denial without, especially without flyers. We weren't able to counter some of the things, and then just kind of the game went on too long. Rankle is fantastic though. Love this card. Definitely fit in perfectly in both of these rogue lists, which is nice to see. Rankle putting in some work. I mean, could try to put in some more removal here with like another Eliminate or Lava Coil or something like that. But otherwise in the sideboard, yeah, just trying to go for maybe we have flyers, so maybe like a Flame Sweep to deal with decks like that. But then we lose a lot of our creatures, so maybe not something we want to do. Obviously play at flash speed, which is something to consider in those matchups. But yeah, I probably want like obviously Tibalt to shut down any life gain shenanigans, since so many decks like to feature life gain mono white, Orzhov, that Mardu opponent we just faced, things like that. So yeah, I'll come up with a sideboard so you can kind of take a look at that as well if either of these lists interest you. So in the meantime, yeah, thanks for watching, and until next time, make sure you jank with a purpose.